Technology is taking the farm by storm, and the pandemic has only exacerbated expectations of the role of technology in feeding a hungry world. As the global population expands and weather patterns remain unpredictable, the ability to irrigate crops with precision is more important than ever before. Good evening and welcome to Rural America Live. I'm Christina Loren. As founders of the irrigation industry over 75 years ago, Valley Irrigation has since become the worldwide leader in irrigation technology, helping you get the exact amount of water exactly where it's required in your field. And joining us tonight on set is Valley Irrigation Vice President of Water Delivery and Business Development, Darren Siekman joins us. We also welcome Valley Irrigation Senior Product Manager of Water Application, Jerry Gerdes joins us. Welcome to both of you. We're so happy you're with us. And remember, you at home, you're an important part of this show. We invite you to call in with your questions tonight for the global water experts with Valley Irrigation. And 3 lucky callers will win some Valley gear and a $50 gift card. So if you are caller number 3, 5, or 9 tonight, you will be a winner. We're going to open up our phone lines in just a few moments. But first, Darren, for those who are unfamiliar, let's get some background on Valley Irrigation and your role with the company.
Well, Christine, I've got to tell you, growing up in central Nebraska in the 1980s, that meant I did a lot of irrigating, but with siphon tubes and carrying gated pipe, and it was a lot of work, and it wasn't terribly scientific. So now to be able to not just augment the technology that's developed by our engineers, but to be able to travel the world to find the best of breed to partner with, to carry on Mr. Doherty's legacy, I have a really cool, fun job.
Yeah, I love your job as well because you're really helping people. And in the spirit of sustainability, which is such a hot topic right now in agriculture, this definitely is right on track with what the world is talking about. So we're going to talk about irrigation a little bit more with Darren in just a moment. But first, Jerry, you bring quite a resume to the table tonight as well. A certified irrigation designer supported through the Irrigation Association, where you serve as a member of the certification board. What is it that drives your passion to provide growers with the technology that only Valley has to offer?
Well, I grew up on a dryland farm in southeast Nebraska. And the years that I was on the farm, we had a lot of drought situations. So I understand the importance of having water to improve your crop yields. And it certainly is a passion of mine to share with growers the solutions that Valley has to offer and being able to manage their center pivot in the most efficient way possible so that they can conserve water and be sure that water is available in the future.
That's so important because we're not just thinking about ourselves. We've got to think about the generations to come, and that's the farming way of life. You're trying to protect the land, preserve as much as you can, conserve as much for the next generation. Let's talk about how technology is coming into play. Darren, where is Valley positioning themselves within this future now state of technology?
Well, you know, Valley's always been the leader, Christina. So besides being the pioneer, and again, it's easy to forget, you know, we were the original robot. Our machines are in the field 24/7, 365. And so right now, what we want to do is unlock the technology that's there and really help growers understand that, listen, there's a precise way to irrigate, there's a way to maximize your return, but yet by the same token, really share the vision of autonomous crop management to let that pivot be your sentinel in the field and be your eyes and ears in the field as well.
It's amazing what you're able to do. You were talking about your founder, Bob Doherty. He built the company that has helped so many farmers. He took that center pivot patent that everybody's using now. He created a path for mass production so that farmers can utilize water more effectively here and around the world. Where you're going with technology now, do you think that it's in the spirit of what Mr. Doherty stood for?
Oh, absolutely. That was what Bob was all about. He was about that constant innovation and about the labor savings and unlocking, you know, really that was part of the green revolution is we were able to take acres that were either not productive or take terribly, terribly wasteful methodologies like the flood irrigation I grew up with, where half of that water goes away, oftentimes leaching away half your nutrients as well. So again, this is all about, again, farming into the 21st century, and this is exactly what Bob would have been very, very happy to see, that we are, advancing ourselves, and that's one of our 4 core values is continuous improvement.
Love it. I love it. And Jerry, producers will let you know that using a pivot is actually one of the most effective implements that you can put in the field that can actually give you a rather quick return on investment. As you integrate more precision level technology, though, and connectivity, how can it impact a farmer's bottom line even more?
Well, a center pivot is a very effective implement that a grower can put in his field. And the main reason for that is the yield increase that irrigation provides to growing crops. It's really important that you apply the amount of water that the crop needs for that particular growth stage that it's in. When you first plant the seeds, very little water is needed to keep the seed, to allow the seeds to germinate and start to grow. Later in the growth cycle, when it's setting on fruit, that's when it typically needs the most water. And then we also don't want to forget about towards the end of the growth stage, it still needs water, but maybe not quite as much. Valley has technology products that can also help drive that return on investment that a center pivot offers. Valley's 365 platform has a number of features that can help growers manage their irrigation system efficiently. One of the modules called Forecast and Plan actually takes real-time data from the field, soil moisture sensor information, weather data, and generates an irrigation schedule or a forecast when the next time you need to start the pivot and how much to apply. A second module called Monitor and Control allows the grower then to set the application depth and start the machine applying water. And all of this is done remotely. And so no longer does the grower have to have a vehicle to run out to the field. It saves wear and tear on that vehicle, saves him fuel, and most importantly, it saves him time that he can spend on other aspects of his operation. Valley 365 also has the ability to send him alerts or messages if something goes wrong with the center pivot. Certainly you don't want to find out 8 or 10 hours later that a problem occurred. You want to know about it right away so you can address it, because if you're not irrigating and if it's really hot, you could be losing yields.
Yeah.
And Christina,
Let's
if I
talk
may,
about that.
remember too, our machines, if they're properly maintained, they'll last decades.
Yes.
So it's really important for us as we design a lot of this technology to have some backwards compatibility. So it's not a big stretch to say, hey, even though my pivot might be 15 or 20 years old, most of our technology very easily bolts on, especially with the help of our local dealer. So anyone can enjoy that, and any brand of pivot can enjoy a lot of this technology as well that we've developed.
Oh, really? Now that's fascinating. So you don't actually have to have a Valley pivot to use
Well, we
Valley
strongly
365.
prefer that. Don't get us wrong, okay? Let's remember who the home team is.
No, absolutely.
But absolutely, no. That's one of the important things again that our in-house designers look at, think about. Because again, as farmers have expanded, again, since other folks' machines might not last as long as ours, but if you pick up a piece of ground and you only have a 5-year-old pivot, even if it's unfortunately someone else's, those growers want to be able to operate a mixed fleet, so to speak.
Yep.
So our dealers service those, and then our technology does go ahead and apply across those. So to Jerry's point, if you get that power interruption in the middle of the day or something happens, that grower can easily go and see that on one screen, regardless of the brand of pivot.
Okay. What I love about Valley 365 is it has a really easy user interface. So it's not really complicated. It's going to be really easy for you to function. And also, it's going to catch things that you won't. You might have a nice big rain outside of your farm and still not realize that you're lacking moisture in parts of your field. Isn't that right?
That's correct. Another module that we have in 365 is called Optimize and Apply. It's for our variable rate irrigation, individual sprinkler product. Variable rate irrigation allows you to change the application depth along the length of the machine so you can target the applications to a specific area of the field. If you have a low area that maybe is wet from a rain event, but yet you have some sandy soils at a high area of the field that could be dry, the variable rate solution would allow you to still irrigate that dry area and not the wet area.
You get it nice and even. That's amazing to me that you're able to work with such precision when it comes to the most precious commodity, which really is water. With everything that was just said, would you consider the pivot to be the lowest cost implement?
I would. It is the lowest cost implement a grower can put in the field. Also, it's the lowest cost to operate and maintain. It's also a good product that a grower can invest in to take advantage of the technology products that we have today and what's going to come up in the future as well.
The future. You are always thinking about the future at Valley. And that's something that we're going to go into when it comes to artificial intelligence a little bit down the road tonight. But we've all heard that growers need to embrace technology. They could be left behind as the ag sector does start shifting toward more of these precision practices in their day-to-day operations. What does embracing irrigation technology look like for growers today?
Well, I think this year's shaping up to be a prime example of why a grower needs to embrace that technology. There's a couple things going on. We're all excited to see the bump in commodity prices. Maybe not the bump in inputs, but absolutely we've had a very nice rise in corn and bean prices over the first part of the year. Again, at this point in the season, it's very rare that anyone could go pick up more acres. So now you're going to really need to maximize those acres. And again, what better way to do that with a great water management program along with the nutrition program. Now, double that, though, because, again, one of our really great producer friends will tell us, listen, I can raise 300 bushel corn, but I make the most money at 230 bushel corn or 240 bushel corn, whatever's the right mix for his field. So dial in your break evens, and that's where a tool like Valley 365 and our technology packages lets that grower know, here's my cost, here's the benefits I'm getting from it, and really sets them up because you know what that drought monitor looks like, Christina. We were talking about that before the show.
Yeah.
And so as a result, you know, we're already in some areas that really have some pretty scary water deficits. Those aren't going away. The 30 to 90-day forecasts are looking like that as well. So on the good front, a lot of growers are probably going to be able to get in the field over the next 30 days. But the scary part is, again, you need to make sure all of your equipment's ready to go because as we talked about, literally just days of hot weather can really start to impact your yield. So check those gearbox oils, check the tires. You know, again, things your Valley dealer can help you with if you haven't already, but make sure you run that preventative maintenance on the machine so it can run on that hot 4th of July weekend.
Which we all know is coming.
Absolutely.
At some point, we're going to get a peak warm-up right before harvest time. You know what, let's talk a little bit more about that drought monitor. If we could put that back up on the screen, because I just want to break down the Corn Belt, just break it apart in two sections. So you can see the Western Corn Belt versus the Eastern Corn Belt. You take a look at Nebraska, you take a look at Iowa, very dry conditions, pockets of extreme and severe drought. Then you look at the Eastern Corn Belt. We traditionally do more irrigating on the west side of the Corn Belt, not so much on the east side. But still, at this moment, you look at northern Illinois, northern Indiana, even northern Ohio, and we have pockets of abnormally dry and moderate drought developing. And so moisture requirements are becoming a bigger issue this year, even in the Eastern Corn Belt, something we're going to have to watch very closely. And Darren, Valley has become the leader in irrigation. Before all the drought started to settle in, you guys were already the leader. So in a drought year, you come in a lot more critically. With the 100,000 connected devices available, talk about the critical role of connectivity and how it helps your growers.
Well, the great part is that, you know, before we came down, I was kind of brushing up on some of my episodes that I DVR'd of Next Level Farming. And Mickey really experienced that this year from a couple perspectives. You know, the soft perspective is hey, son's going back to college. We'd like to get away for an afternoon. I forgot to turn off a pump, and what a great way to, you know, to take care of your field from afar. But really, I thought that the more exciting one was, and David got to see a piece of this too, is that in the tools of technology and being able to be connected, you took the guesswork out of how much water you needed. And sometimes you guess way high, but a lot of times in this case, in Mickey's farm, he was guessing low. So as a result, those were bushels he was leaving out there that just one more pass of the machine would give him that extra yield. And so again, our scheduling tool that came right along as part of Valley 365 let him know that he needs to do that. And then of course, in the future state, you know, we want to get to this autonomous crop management. We'll talk about, you know, the artificial intelligence piece. And so as a result, you really are getting left behind, but it doesn't have to be scary. It's very easy to do. And again, our tutorials and lots of people are seeing it's a great way to be able to manage their farm.
You're just talking about next level farming. What I take away from Randy Dowdy and David Hula, they're using Valley Irrigation pivots. These are the guys who have the top yields in the country, and they keep on pushing those yields further and further every year, and they're using Valley Irrigation. That, to me, that says everything.
That's very gratifying to us as well, because again, that's why we get up in the morning. You know, that's what brings us and has us working late hours and traveling the world, is exactly that kind of dedication from those kind of top growers. And as we look across our grower profiles, that's where we're really proud to see the growers that buy our equipment and have decades-long relationships with us. And so that's what we talk about, and Jerry will talk about in our design segment as well, because again, we know that we have the premier product out there and we want to keep it that way.
Well, you got a long trail for people to catch up to. So Valley Irrigation is one of those companies that I'm sure most farmers know about, and their fathers, if they were farmers, probably know about as well. Let's talk about the value of connected crop management that comes from Valley 365. This is your flagship platform to connectivity. Tell us about the development process and what farmers can expect with the newest release.
Well, at Valley, we use what's called the voice of the customer to gain information on new solutions that we can offer to growers. A typical Valley grower is someone who's very progressive and looking for technology to help improve their irrigation management. And a good example is a current project we have going on to update our Optimize and Apply module in Valley 365. Currently, it has a really neat feature that growers use in developing prescriptions for the individual sprinkler product. It's using shapefiles to create a prescription. Well, Valley also has growers who use VRI Speed as well as VRI Zone products. They have been asking us for that same capability to be able to create prescriptions from shapefiles. So by the end of May, we plan to release the update on Optimize and Apply, where a grower, no matter which VRI solution he uses from Valley, he'll be able to create prescriptions in Optimize and Apply and have that ability of using shapefiles. And maybe just a quick comment about shapefiles. Shapefiles typically contain data related to the variability in the field, whether it's soil types or maybe elevation or some other specific characteristic in the field that is causing variation in yields. And so that shapefile then is a good starting point in creating prescriptions. We have a couple of other products that were just recently announced. One of those is called Valley Pump Command. This is an automated pump control and water delivery solution. It uses variable frequency drives with a pressure set point that controls the flow rate to the system based on how many pivots are running. So if a pivot shuts off, it reduces the flow to the system. If another pivot turns on, it's going to increase the flow. There are three choices of product with the Pump Command solution, and it can cover any number of center pivots on a farm. A second product that was recently announced was called Field Commander View. This is a monitor-only product that relays information to a grower about the pivot pressure, the speed, the direction of travel, as well as whether or not water is on or off. It's a cost-effective way for a grower to get started with technology in Valley 365. And both of these products are available on 365 Web as well as the mobile app.
So with Valley 365, which connects you to all Valley technology, and you say you don't have to have all the bells and whistles to get started, what do you need to get started?
Well, there's a couple of solutions we offer. You can add an AgSense device to any center pivot, and signing up for a subscription will then get that pivot connected to 365. Or you could simply update the control panel to an icon model Valley panel. With a subscription, it'll be connected. It's also important to note that it doesn't have to be a Valley pivot. No matter the age or the brand, these products can be added to the center pivot to get it connected to 365.
So to find out more, the best thing to do would probably be to go to valleyirrigation.com and find your local dealer. Yeah.
That's right.
Absolutely. And a lot of our local dealers now have certified technology advisors right on staff. And that's one of the things we've incented our dealers to do. And we're really proud that a lot of them have taken that investment.
Yeah, the Valley dealers, let's just tip our hat to them tonight. They work so hard and they do such noble work. So thank you guys. If you're watching out there, we appreciate you. All right, we are going to go to break in just a moment and open up our phone lines. We want to give you a chance to join the conversation tonight. 877-731-6733 is the number to call. Remember, we are giving away 3 $50 gift cards tonight and some Valley gear as well to 3 lucky on-air callers. Number 3, 5, and 9 will win. Again, that number is 877-731-6733. Call in with your questions. We'll be taking them right after the break. More Rural America Live with Valley Irrigation right after this. Welcome back to Rural America Live. I'm Christina Loren. Joining us tonight, the global water experts with Valley Irrigation. And we're talking about how greater connectivity and major strides in irrigation technology can transform your operation. And we're taking your questions. 877-731-6733 is the number to call. 3 lucky callers will win a $50 gift card, as well as some Valley gear. Our phone lines are now open. 877-731-6733. We're going to go to the phones in just a moment. But Darren, part of the Valley 365 platform is a connection to Valley Insights. And what the industry is buzzing about right now is artificial intelligence. Tell us about Valley Insights and your partnership with Prospera, the leader in AI technology.
Well, it's a great partnership. We have recently flown over 5 million acres isolating irrigation insights. But now this year we're starting to expand and we have sensors right on the center pivot that's giving real-time plant data as well. And you might say, well, how did Prospera and Valley even think to get together? Again, as I talked about in the open, one of my great parts of my jobs is you talk to people from all over the world, and you might think it's a bit of an odd couple, a company from Tel Aviv and a company from Omaha getting together. But absolutely, these guys and gals are data scientists in muddy boots that had a lot of experience in the greenhouse industry. And then they also came back and said, you know what? They were all very successful in other fields. And they said, this is great, but we want a reason to get up in the morning that really gives something back to the world. So they're very dedicated to not only the sustainability, but making sure we improve our productivity. So now, with our joint development, you're getting thousands of images every time that center pivot passes. And more importantly then, using their artificial intelligence engine, we're telling that farmer, we're telling that agronomist, we're telling that field scout exactly where they need to look for problems that come up in the field. So this has been a great partnership. It's just getting started, but we know we're just scratching the surface as we continue to mature.
Oh, it is exciting what you can do with AI these days. It's just mind-boggling. Okay, we are going to go to the phones. We have our first caller tonight. It is Mary. Thanks for joining the conversation. Go right ahead.
Hi. I was just wondering, I don't farm personally. I do work for Offutt for the seed company, and we do have Valley in Wadena, Minnesota. And I understand that they're putting on their center pivots some way to put the chemical in the potatoes, like not fertigating, not when they hook up the big tanks.
Mary Kay, you're exactly right. And this is one of those developmental products that we're really excited to talk about. It's an invention that one of our dealers in Argentina actually came up with. And for those of you that might be a little more familiar with farming, you know a lot of solutions now, whether they be crop protection, whatever the case may be, they don't handle the dilution well that traditional fertigation might be. So we've got an apparatus that sits alongside or underneath the pivot that's going to allow, spot spraying, literally almost plant by plant, leaf by leaf applications. And we're just getting the first ones of those out, of which obviously, people like seed companies, potato growers are going to find a lot of return in. It takes away some of the environmental issues of a spray plane. It really allows for that precise application at the time it's needed with a lot less labor. So that's one of those products in development, And we hope to get more information out on it this year as we get the first ones out.
Thank you for that call, Mary Kay. We sure appreciate it. Next up, we're going to New Mexico to talk to Keith. Thanks for joining us, Keith. Go right ahead.
Hey, I was wondering what you do at the spray head to reduce evaporation and water loss.
That's a good question, Keith. There are a number of options that you can use to help reduce evaporation and loss. Typically, you want to look for a spray plate that is going to have a larger droplet. So it resists evaporation, it will resist the wind, and has a higher chance of getting to the soil once it's left the sprinkler. You want to avoid the type of sprays that are going to create a fine mist, because obviously the wind's going to blow that away and it's going to be much easier to evaporate. So look for a plate that's going to give you a larger spray droplet.
One more great example, Jerry, if this isn't your dad's center pivot, your night or your grandpa's center pivot with the traditional impact head throwing water up into the air. This is about getting the water down right where it needs to be.
Certainly drops, what we call it, is lowers the sprinklers down below the pipeline. That would be another suggestion to help fight evaporation and wind drift, is to get the sprinkler down closer to the ground.
All right. Thank you so much for that call, Keith. That means our next caller will be a winner, 877-731-6733. We'll go back to the phones in just a moment. But before we do, hearing about all this technology, autonomous technology at that, and AI and the integration of connections, it seems that pretty soon the pivot's going to be running the farm. How is the grower still in control when it really seems like the pivot's doing so much?
Well, the pivot is doing a lot, especially a connected pivot. It provides a large amount of data to help the grower make decisions on how to manage the center pivot. We talked earlier about forecast and plan, developing an irrigation schedule. If the grower had to do that on his own time, that would take a significant amount of hours to determine what the application depth should be based on what all is happening out in the field. Another example is this when we were talking about insights. In the past, there are growers who would have aerial infrared photos taken of their fields multiple times throughout the season, and then they would have to go through those photos to try and look for problem areas to address. With insights, the artificial intelligence does all that work for them. And so now, that frees up their time to do other things. We also know from feedback on the Insight product that growers are noticing that the artificial intelligence can find problems much quicker than what the human eye can see, whether it be in the field or looking at the photographs itself. Wow. So ultimately, the grower will always have the final decision on what to do with the center pivot. But artificial intelligence and other analysis tools are freeing up time and providing better information to the grower.
Yeah, seeing into things that maybe the grower wouldn't be able to see with the naked eye, which is amazing to me. Right. So with the advancement of the Valley 365 remote connectivity to Valley Insights, how does this change the pivot?
Well, it makes it a multifunctional tool. It's not just there to apply irrigation water. It can apply crop nutrients, it can apply crop protectants. Now with Insights, it's there to watch for crop health. It makes the center pivot a much more valuable piece of equipment to the grower because it can do so many more things than just apply water.
We live in this world of immediacy these days, especially ever since the iPhone was invented, the smartphone was invented. It's no different in agriculture when it comes to data and connections, remote capabilities as well. We have them all at our fingertips now. Valley is a trusted partner, but how do you leverage that trust with technology, given that technology is constantly evolving and just doesn't stand still?
Well, we earn our customers' trust by providing them dependable solutions that can help them with their farming operation. Valley is very proud that we have the strongest pivot structure in the industry, and that's come about from continuous improvement. And that means that we have a very strong development and testing program when we're working on new solutions before we release them. And that same type of rigor that's applied to the mechanical products is also carrying over into the technology products. So we spend a lot of time doing the voice of the customer process to get good information on what the growers need so that we're working on the right products for them. And then in the end, we're delivering good solutions that they can use to improve their farming operation.
And going back to that immediacy comment, Christina, one of the ways that a lot of people don't think about immediacy is the crop nutrition piece. And so I know, here Jerry and I are here, we have Valley on our shirts, but think about Randy and David, again, the best in the world at what they do. And it was so great when I was brushing up on a few of those back episodes to hear Randy say, if you aren't fertigating, you're making a mistake. And so again, what he means by that is that you can immediately derive nutrition to your crop anytime during the year, 1 time, 2 times, 10 times, and not have to worry about those very abnormal events that are part of our weather cycle right now. So, again, our immediacy, there's a reason we have that, and that's so you can provide those real-time decisions on things a lot more than just water.
And like you talk about, the best of the best. These guys, they study. I mean, I know Randy Dowdy is a bit of a scholar. That man is into the books, and he's looking at the data, and he's analyzing everything. And so I know he knows what he's doing, and the fact that he chooses Valley, it just speaks volumes to me. Jerry, let's talk a little bit about, for those who don't know about the growing process, when you talk about irrigation and getting the moisture right where it needs to be for the perfect growth stage of a plant, you talked a little bit about germination. As we talk about the winter wheat crop, for example, it's going to be waking up out of dormancy here pretty soon. And in parts of the southern plains where we have exceptional drought, that wheat might not have the moisture requirements that it needs. What kind of an impact does that have on a farmer's bottom line when they're not irrigating and they get hit with a drought?
Well, certainly it's going to negatively affect their crop yields, which is going to reduce their return when they go to harvest that crop and sell the crop. But with Valley's 365 platform, as the irrigation starts, they can still use the forecasting plan to generate an irrigation schedule to try to catch up to get more water into the ground that the crop can use. Some of the yields may have been affected, but there's still an opportunity through the technology products to still do a good job of irrigating the crop.
Yeah, if I'm a farmer in the southern plains and I've got dry land wheat right now, after the 5 years that we've seen prior as well, I'm probably thinking about irrigating and how important it could be to my operation. So, yeah. Darren, what's the one thing that would surprise our viewers, something they may not know about what Valley has to offer?
Well, I think one of the things that has been really illuminating to us over these last couple of years is the fact that, obviously pivots are our bread and butter, and that's what brought us to where we're at. But it's providing that complete solution. So whether it's here in the U.S. or whether it's across the world, our ability to design the whole project and really make sure that the water can get to the field any way that case may be. And we do that in a couple of different ways. We have a very strong engineering group and consulting group. So they're doing water studies, water analyses, making sure that the land is suitable for irrigation. And then we follow that up with a recent acquisition we had down in Mississippi, where we're actually able now to monitor and control some flood irrigation fields as well. Again, we know that that's not the preferred methodology in a lot of places, but we also know when it comes to rice, when it comes to places in the Mississippi Delta, that you can improve the flood irrigation as well. So we have a robust suite of products for things that control all of the water spectrum.
Wow. And like we talk about, it is the most precious commodity. It is something that we all need, a basic building block of life. So I love the way that you're thinking about the future as well. Okay, we're going to go back to the phones. Our first winner tonight is from Oklahoma. Rick joins the conversation. Thanks for joining us, Rick. Go right ahead.
Yes. I was wondering, what is the minimum gallons per minute required to run a pivot?
That's a very good question. It really all depends on a couple of factors. How many acres are you going to irrigate with that center pivot, and what type of crops are you going to be growing under that center pivot? Each crop has a different water requirement, And so what you'll want to do is size the flow rate based on the crop that needs the most water. And for help in determining what that flow rate should be, you can contact your local Valley dealer. We've provided materials to our dealer network to help them determine what flow rate should be based on crops.
But Jerry,
and so
I've
forth.
heard late in the season, or for people that are really, really short on water, while we don't recommend it, they can get by with a couple 100 gallons per minute in some cases. I mean, I know that you'll want a lot more than that. But again, if you're using a crop that's not quite as thirsty, so you're not going to grow rice, you're not maybe going to be able to get 4 cuttings of alfalfa. But, you know, again, if you really start to design the field, and that's one of the things this season with issues and drought, you know, a lot more grain sorghums have been popular.
Yeah.
And so, or Milo, as some of us like to call it. You know, so, you know, that's where, again, that whole planning process really can take shape. And there's not that template of, oh, gosh, if you don't have 1,000 gallons per minute, you can't have a pivot sort of thing.
Good to know. Okay, by the way, Rick from Oklahoma, you are our first winner tonight. $50 gift card is yours. And Billy from Texas is up next. Thanks for joining the conversation, Billy. Go right ahead.
Thank you. I was just wondering, what is the maximum length that Valley would recommend on the length of a pivot system? And, you know, on a maximum length pivot system, then how big a well would you really need to push the water that far?
Well, as far as the well, that goes back to the flow rate that's going to be required, which is, again, it's based on the length of the acres that are covered by the machine and the crop water requirements. As far as the length of the center pivot, I'm not sure exactly what the maximum length is. I mean, there's a lot of half-mile machines out there. There's a few that are longer. Darren, do you know if we have a set number?
I don't know that we have a set limit. Legend has it that there's like a 17 or 18 span machine here in the U.S., which would be well in that half-mile range, a little bit longer, and a 20 span machine down in South America, I've heard, but maybe that's just Valley legend or Valley lore. Again, that's one of the great things about having a machine that's, you know, it's engineered very well. So we know that there's machines that maybe aren't in spec out there from some of those dealers that, while we love them, we know there's a lot of people that push the envelope. So I'm sure there's over half-mile long machines out there.
There's always some guy out there pushing the envelope. All right, we are going to go. Actually, we're going to pause for a quick break, but that means that our next caller is a winner. That could be you, 877-731-6733. On the other side of this break, we still have 2 $50 gift cards to give away. 877-731-6733. Stay with us. More Rural America Live with Valley Irrigation right after this. Welcome back to Rural America Live. Joining us tonight, the global water experts with Valley Irrigation, and we're taking your calls. We still have 2 more $50 gift cards to give away tonight and some Valley gear. 877-731-6733 is the number to call. Again, 877-731-6733. You're an important part of this show. As we continue on talking about Valley Irrigation, we were talking about some of the products that you have to offer. And essentially, when it comes to Valley 365, this is your pilot offering. It's what farmers are becoming more and more familiar with. Where do you see that heading? Don't you have a new release coming out soon?
Yes, we have a release in May. That will be the update on our optimize and apply option that's used to generate prescriptions for our variable rate individual sprinkler product. We're adding the capability of doing VRI speed and VRI zone in that option as well. And so we've had a number of growers who have asked for that, and that'll be out just in time for this coming irrigation season.
Anything else coming down the pipe? I'm sure you know more than you're allowed to talk about, but.
Well, we do have one other product that's we're working on in about a month. The Encompass Corner Uniform Water will be released, and that's a new solution for controlling sprinklers on corner spans. And it uses our GPS data to control the sprinkler flow rates for each sprinkler on the corner span, so that it's applying the water that's required based on its position in the field. And for those who don't know about a corner span, that's a steerable drive unit that as the center pivot moves around the field, it's at the end of the machine and it moves out into the corner and then comes back in. It helps pick up more acres, improving the production on a field.
All right. Darren, as the climate discussion becomes a bigger, I don't want to say issue, because it's not an issue. It's something that everybody wants to kind of get ahead of. But as far as agriculture's role in climate, that's something that a lot of people have different theories about. When it comes to conserving water, nobody's going to argue with that. And sustainability is a word we're hearing quite often these days in agriculture. What does it really mean for farmers, though? And how does irrigation play into that equation?
Well, again, as we like to talk about, farmers are the original conservationists.
Yes.
I have yet to meet a farmer that doesn't want to pass their operation on to the next generation. And, and we're not talking about keeping topsoil alive for the next 500 years. If we do it right, we'll keep it alive for the next 2,000 years as well. So Valley, again, and our parent company, Valmont, it's all about improving life and conserving resources. That's our tagline, and that's what Mr. Doherty founded the company on. So to bring that all back, it really holds a couple of key issues for us. Is first of all, again, it doesn't pay a farmer to be wasteful. Why would absolutely they be wasteful? So we want to make sure that we're with them every step of the way, conserving, over 6.5 million gallons of water every year per pivot. Those are the types of things that, again, that's just our lifeblood, and that's what we do. So on one hand, it's almost hard for us sometimes to fully appreciate that environmental message, because that's what we're about, because we realize that if you're not doing that, your business doesn't thrive, your business doesn't survive for the next year, for the next generation. So that's one of the things that we've done a lot of work on over the past couple of years, is really getting much more involved, trying to get that story out. And all of us in agriculture can do a much better job of telling that story, because, again, no one wakes up to say, I'm going to be wasteful today.
That's right, especially when it comes to water as well. Now, Jerry, if you were to provide some advice to growers about how they can gain efficiencies in their water application and promote sustainability, what would that be?
Well, I would encourage each grower to look at the variability that they may have in their fields. Yield monitors show them what the yields are for every position in the field. If they're seeing changes in yield, then likely there's some type of variability that one of our variable rate irrigation products or solutions could help them address. We mentioned that we have 3 types of variable rate irrigation solutions. The first, the most economical for a grower to get started with VRI, is called Speed VRI. That's simply just changing the speed of the machine to change the water application depth in the direction of travel. The next step up is called Zone VRI, and that's simply dividing the sprinklers into groups or zones. So, of course, we add a valve to those sprinklers to be able to turn them off and on. The third option is controlling individual sprinklers. And that's going to give you your highest level of control, as well as on the prescription side, it's going to give you your highest resolution of prescription. So you can really control that water that's in the field. Another item that I would encourage all growers to monitor is the pivot pressure. Every center pivot has a specific design pressure that's based on the type of sprinklers that they're using. If the system pressure drops below that minimum design pressure, you're actually underwatering or applying less water at the outer end of the pivot. And on a center pivot, with it being a circle, most of the acres are on the outer end. So even though it may feel like it's close enough, you're really affecting the crop yields on the outer end of the machine. Wow. And it's a really simple thing to do through Valley Monitor and Control, 365 Monitor and Control, to watch that pressure.
Excellent, excellent. Okay, we're going to go back to the phones. Warren of New Mexico joins the conversation. Congratulations, you are a winner, Warren. Go right ahead.
I see your sprayer applications, but do you have any pump solutions?
We mentioned earlier that the Pump Command solution uses VFDs to control the water delivery to the center pivot. That would be the
Right,
one
so
option that
so
we have.
Valley Warren does not manufacture pumps, but what we do as part of our engineering process is match up the specifications, and we have preferred suppliers for both our pumps and, as Jerry just mentioned, the VFDs or variable frequency drives, which really cut down on energy usage and really improves that band or the effective band that we can pump with. So again, local dealers are able to really match that up for you well, and we do have a list of preferred suppliers that really depend upon the geography as well, because sometimes there's some pretty big regional differences in whether you're pulling up. Again, if you're in Central City, Nebraska, 50 feet might get you to water, whereas Central City, Colorado might be a couple thousand feet to water. So you really need to, to tailor that to your needs.
All right. And congratulations to you, Warren, winner of a $50 gift card. We still have one more to give away. 877-731-6733 is the number to call in with your question. Randy from Utah joins the conversation now. Thanks for joining us, Randy. Go right ahead.
The question I have, apparently I didn't win the
Maybe next time.
the question I have is with my pivot, I have 4 of them. How can we apply water equally at the wheel track to keep them from digging deep rut? We're in heavy place for it.
I believe you asked how to apply the water uniformly around the wheel tracks. Is that?
Yep, and not get ruts.
Yeah,
that's what I heard.
We have a couple of options that can be used there. One of the options is called boombacks. It's a device that moves the sprinkler away from the pipeline, so it's back behind the drive unit, or the drive wheels. You can also combine the boomback with a part circle sprinkler. It's a 180 pattern, so the water is thrown away from the machine, keeping the wheel track dry, so that as the machine passes through the field, the wheels are always running on dry dirt. So that can help minimize the wheel track issue.
All right. Thank you for that call. We appreciate it, Randy. That leaves a line open for you, 877-731-6733. Again, we still have one more $50 gift card to give away tonight. Just call in with your question. You could be a winner. All right, Jerry, conserving resources, improving life. My understanding is that this has been the longstanding position for Valmont. What does this mean to Valley?
Well, it means that it's important to provide solutions that growers can use to be as efficient as possible in applying their water, conserving the energy that they're using to run the machine and pump the water. It's important that we have water available for future generations of farmers.
And I think this really matches up with what a farmer's all about, Christina. We have 4 core values at Valley, and that's passion, integrity, continuous improvement, and delivering results. So when you think about what matches up well with a farmer, I mean, obviously that's a way of life, and that's not for the faint of heart. You have to have a passion to do it. Yes. I don't know anyone more honest than our group of customers. So we think that really matches up. The other thing is, we've talked a lot about technology tonight, but the bulk of what's in that machine is steel. And there is absolutely no product on earth that's recycled more than steel is. So again, we actively are searching for making sure that we use not only the best steel, but then we also recycle as much as possible as well in our operations and with any of the machines that have been retired as well. So that's one of those things where, again, those resources are scarce, so let's make the most of them.
How long can a pivot last? How many years can a guy get out of one of these pivots?
Well, and that's what we talk about. With good maintenance, again, tires, gearboxes, there are some wear items, but it's not uncommon to have 25 and 30-year-old machines. Now, again, those might be a machine that only runs 800 hours a year in, say, central Nebraska versus a machine that's in the desert, in the high desert, irrigating alfalfa 2,000 or 3,000 hours a year. So, but absolutely, we've got machines that last a long time. And sometimes, you know, and to my boss's chagrin, he'll say the darn things last too long. He wishes you know, so if Lenny Adams is listening, I can say, you know, don't worry, farmers. We are absolutely saying we're going to keep the quality there and make sure that they last for generations to come.
Oh, the pivots will last, but you're adding the technology that makes them work to their optimum efficiency, which is amazing. It's just amazing to me what farmers have at their fingertips this day and age. What kind of changes has Valley Irrigation made in its stewardship towards sustainability? If we could just kind of stay on that thing, because it's so important in agriculture right now.
Well, and that's where it just fits hand in glove with this. So again, it's really unlocking all of that. So we talk about, and we feel like we're just scratching the surface. And again, technology is enabling that, but more importantly, it's that sustainability. So again, you're getting to the point where it sounds outlandish, but again, recently John Deere announced this week their See and Spray technology. Yep. We're working on things like that as well. So again, it's about, you know, whether it's, again, not just the water, but the crop protection as well. And so again, not to sound, you know, I beat the dead horse tonight, but gosh darn it, you know, why broadcast a product over the whole field when it's only needed on certain areas, certain hot spots? And that's why we're so developed, you know, this B-Rail product that we alluded to, that's got a couple of test sites out there. We're so excited about that ability because it takes it to that next level of crop management and autonomous crop management.
Yes, autonomous crop management, giving the farmer more free time to take care of more important things. Sometimes that's just time with family. Time with family is so important. Okay, we don't have much time left in this show. It's been such a great conversation tonight, but before we go, we've got a few moments left. I want to make sure, though, everybody knows how to get in touch with a dealer. ValleyIrrigation.com. You're going to find all kinds of key resources there, more information. If you are to go on the website and you sign up and you say, yeah, I do want to hear more from a dealer, what's the process look like?
Well, the process looks like is using your dealer locator. So you're welcome to send information right in through ValleyIrrigation.com. Or you can also contact that local dealer. We've got over 250 here in North America. So again, these are people that have been in the business as long or longer than Jerry and I have. They've got generations of experience and they know how to solve those problems for you. So again, let us know through ValleyIrrigation.com or call that local dealer, either one.
And Jerry, I got to ask you, you said you grew up on a dry land farm. Mm-hmm. What do you think that farm would look like today if you had Valley Irrigation technology?
It would look a lot different. Certainly the crop yields would be much improved, I can guarantee that. Yeah.
And your father, the farmer, what do you think that he would say if he saw the work that you're doing? You're helping so many farmers across the country.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think he'd be really proud. I mean, he grew up on dryland farms, and he's through watching me and my career, he's certainly seen how irrigation can improve the crop production and all. So I think he would be really happy to see that.
Quality of life, sustainability, all these things that you have positioned yourself for way in advance. We didn't know that the climate discussion was going to be such a hot topic this year, but you're here and you're ready to answer. You're part of the solution, and we appreciate you so much. We only have a few moments left. I want to ask you both if you have any final thoughts for our viewers tonight.
Well, you know, my final thought really, Christina, is again, I've been very happy to be able to work with Mickey and all of Valley, really, been able to work with Mickey and the team at Next Level Farming. And it's really great to see, again, here's a guy that's farmed his whole life. He's a good farmer. And now being able to walk up, you know, the things that David and Randy have shown him and the fact that we can be a partner along the way. And those are things that, again, they're here today. So again, that technology doesn't have to be scary. It doesn't have to be expensive, although in this day and age, everybody thinks everything's too expensive. But the great part is we drive that ROI. And that's the thing, is we want to show you and be your partner along the way to say, here's what you're going to get out of it. And that's really what it makes me happy.
I love it. And you can quantify it as well. I love that. They can actually show you the calculations. We're so grateful for you joining us tonight. Thank you so much for being a part of this show. More Rural America Live coming your way next week. Thanks for joining us right here on Rural America's most important network.